Sewing curves and quilting is super duper fun. Once you get this down, you'll be able to make simple quilts into masterpieces just by having a curvilicious nature. This Boogie Nights quilt, which is a pattern by the Retro Quilter, and I have this kitted up in my shop, was a weekend project. I think I spent 4 hours one day, 4 hours the next day, and it was done. Because when you have something as dynamic as a curve in a quilt, it gives you enough visual interest that you don't really have to do much more to it. That is what this video is all about. If this is your first time here, my name is Matthew of Mixed Domestic. This is an inclusive sewing and crafting space, so everyone is welcome. And the way that I communicate and share what I learned is done in an approachable, inclusive manner that hopefully makes you feel welcome and seen and willing to try new things like curves. But before we get into the video, I wanted to talk about the sponsor of this video, which is Craftsy, because they are having a deal right now where you can get an entire year of premium subscription service for $1.49 by using the link in the description below. They have next level instructors on their platform, including myself, all sharing a part of their expertise with you. And I haven't mastered it yet, but I've even gone there to learn knitting. And that's how I learned the basics of knit stitch and purl stitch, was on that platform. And for anyone who's been a part of my journey, you are aware that I like to dabble in all of the crafts, and it's the perfect space for that. Because no matter what you want to learn, you'll be able to learn it there. If you want to get into food, there's baking and cooking. If you wanted to play with yarn, there's crochet and knitting. If you want to play with fabric, there's quilting and apparel. My class is an English paper piecing class, which is a technique in quilting. It's really, really neat. And for $1.49 for an entire year, you can't beat it. If you have even a modicum of curiosity for any of those techniques and crafts, definitely click the link below. But now let's get into this content so you can learn my tips and tricks for sewing curves. You can have an awesome weekend project like this one. The thing to know about sewing curves is that of the two pieces with the concave and convex pieces, these curves are not the same. They're actually different because what you want, I put this on tracing paper so that you can see it, when they join, you want that seam to be the same curve. So the curve you want to be the same is where it meets right here at a 1/4 inch seam allowance. And for that purpose, the curves are going to be slightly different because it takes a different curve to get to here, and then from here. The math is mathing. But if you have a good pattern, like in this Boogie Nights pattern, then you can trust that when you put this and this together, it's going to be good to go. And that's the reason that oftentimes the convex piece looks bigger than the concave piece. It's not about these edges meeting. It's about that seam line meeting. From that Boogie Nights pattern, these are the two pieces, but they're not a 1/4 circle. It's actually a 1/2 circle that I've pressed in the center, because what I'm going to do is glue baste 3 points before I take it over to my sewing machine. Of course, you could use clips if you choose, or pins. I prefer glue because it's one less thing to fiddle with. So I'm going to put a little bit of glue right here. Just a little, make sure it's inside the seam line, and then when you heat set it, you do not have to worry about it gunking up your needle. And then the next spot is right here. You want to glue baste the end right here, once again inside the seam allowance. And then one more spot. Now, before I take it to my sewing machine, the question here, people have different opinions, is whether or not this goes on top or the bottom. I prefer it on the bottom, and then I use a stiletto or tweezers to make sure that the rest of it gets exactly where it needs to. Like so, because there will be a little bit of stretch on this piece to get it to this one. Because remember, this was aesthetically larger than here when it came to the raw edges. As long as you allow it a little bit of stretch, you'll be able to get it there. And I trust the geometry of the process. So that's my reason for having it on the bottom. And I do have my 1/4 inch foot on just to make sure that I keep it at a 1/4 inch to get that spot. Then I have my little stiletto here, which is just going to help keep these raw edges aligned as I go. And every little bit, making sure that the bottom fabric stays flat and doesn't buckle. Just bring it in. See how I'm just matching that curve? Now I've gotten through half of it, and I'm just going to continue on with the same process. You see how sometimes it wants to bunch, but it's not going to be inside of the seam allowance. It's going to be toward the middle. So it's okay that it looks like it's doing that. I just use that stiletto to flatten it out, making sure the raw edges are aligned, and it is good to go. And then whenever I press, I will flatten the circle fabric. So the convex part of the shape, I will flatten. That just gives more structure to the actual circle, since that's the focal point. And there we have a half circle, how to get that done. I hope you enjoyed this video as much as I did making, because I really want you to be able to enjoy all things curvy when it comes to quilt piecing. Because curves are definitely not anything anyone should be intimidated by. And it's 100% guaranteed to bring you a lot of fun. So if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to subscribe to my channel and hit that bell to get notified anytime I have a new video. And until next time, happy sewing.